Hello and welcome to Two Blokes in a Cave, a vaguely philosophical podcast hosted by myself, Cameron Wright, a wannabe philosopher who graduated one time, and my mate here, Carlton Sin, the second best looking man in 17 Miles Rocks, and the sprinting champion of 2015.
It is a lot more fun, I think, saying funny things about you.
Well, I'm a little bit easier to pick on.
Yeah, I think it's easier to pick on you than be picked on.
Why? I look like I'm an idiot, is that what you're saying?
No. Oh, it's very good.
Yeah, so that was me doing an introduction. I realized I hadn't done one yet.
That was good. That was very good. I was kind of hogging the introductions for a while, and apparently, I don't know, just giving you a hard time. It's a bit of retribution coming my way.
No, that's all right. I think I'm a more punchable bag, potentially. I don't know.
All bags are punchable. Try hard enough, I suppose.
We'll watch it back. This might get all the views, and from now on out, it'll just be me like, hey,
sorry,
idiot.
Carlton, you've been benched. You're just straight benched. Sit down and shut up. No worries.
Alrighty. Yeah.
What are we doing today, mate?
What are we talking about? That's a great question. Thanks for asking. I was about to talk about that in about 45 minutes. No, yeah, we're going to continue, or not continue, but like following on from the two previous AI episodes, we've got a little bit more to talk about regarding AI stuff in a different sort of zone. A couple of things that we want to keep touching on, and a bit more issues in the AI zone that we've been thinking about the last week or so.
Very topical. Yeah. So turns out there's a lot of AI shenanigans to kind of sort through, shift through.
It's in the news.
And like almost like philosophy in a sense, there is it's such a broad topic. If you sat down for an hour and just said, "Oh, let's talk about philosophy," you're like, "What about philosophy?" Like,
we did.
What part?
It is a big.
It's too vague. So we're focusing more on sort of the what would you say, like the AI, how it removes the interconnectedness of humans or the humanity from people, or how would you like to phrase, like it promises leisure and entertainment, but it really kind of delivers like despotism and loneliness.
That's the inclusion we're going to get to.
There you go. Sorry, I'm just like, what is the of all the things AI promises, it typically very positive, and a lot of this, even like I speak sort of probably a bit for both of us when I say we're not really big social media guys, even though I send you quite a few reels of stuff.
I'm really trying.
But yeah, like, the AI, like social media is not something that I think of as being a big part of my life. Yeah. I don't post a lot or do a lot of things on the socials besides this podcast, apparently. So,
yeah, it's out there. But
it's definitely billed as like a really good connection for people to have. Like, hey, get Facebook so you can be more connected to your friends. But I think it delivers the opposite of that.
Whilst never being connected to them in real life.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Is that like a fair...
I think that's a fair statement. And I think what you were saying, to build on that, we're going to look at how like we've basically been thinking that a lot of the negative parts of where this is going is kind of taking humans out of the loop a little bit. Like it's taken us out of the interaction, and something else is coming in, and I think that's going to lead to like something potentially not spectacular. But
you could almost say like as a trend line. I don't know if there's a graph Brendos might be able to find on the internet, but I think I have a strong inclination to believe, based on my own kind of unique like life experience, that people are worse at talking to people with a more kind of broad, I would say like typical human sort of diverse opinions and beliefs and attitudes, because we have such a focused sort of echo chamber of what do you like. It kind of just shoves you in with people that are like you.
Oh, as opposed to...
So I certainly see, and this is kind of natural in a sense, that your close friends are people who likely share many of the same like attitudes, values, and beliefs as you, which is good. But when you're in the world, you have no choice, because you're kind of sitting next to someone on the bus, or you're at work and you're talking to people, like you're with people that have a varied kind of life experience, and you have to talk to them, like, because that's how you communicate before the social media sort of stuff happened. Like if you're in a lunchroom in the 90s, you can't sit on your phone and text your mates, because there's no, you're talking to like, oh, Jill from accounts, here we go, Jill the Protestant, here we go.
How's like your kid doing at the footy? Yeah. Oh, they never put him on.
They never put him on. He's rubbish. He's on the bench, and you have to talk to them, and their like ideas that aren't necessarily aligned to yours you have to engage with, and you can't you don't freak out as much about like, oh, how could you believe that?
Yeah.
But if you spend all day online, or you spend a large point of your time on social media, which I think is recorded now pretty effectively, like the amount of time we spend
everything's
per day.
like pretty much data.
It's all data, right? So you can say like, oh, you actually spend hours, I don't know, 6 hours a day. I don't know, I'm making that number up on your
That's probably the
social
average,
media,
by the way.
right? And that social media has sort of sucked you into just this echo chamber of people that agree with you and propagate like your opinion to be like, this is the best. And the only way, everybody else is like a dirty degenerate, no good. And then your close friends in real life that you do interact with still are probably similar enough to you that you're like, yeah, see, I know Cameron, not a degenerate, terrible person. And everyone that's on my Facebook, also not degenerate. So then when you see someone that's not in your in-group, they are such an outsider. Whereas in reality, they're like, I'm just a regular dude who,
I'm 1 degree of separation.
Like the Catholic Church. You're like, you disgraceful. How could you?
Yeah, it is an echo chamber. Well,
so I think that's my quick interpretation, I guess, of like it's more isolating and atomizing, because there is I want to use like, I don't want to get too like wanky, but like the ghost of the machine type stuff, where like the humanity is in the human. And if you remove human interaction, you're kind of taking the humanity and sucking it out, and you become like a husk of a person, and you're interacting with people in like this sterile kind of vaguely removed. There's always a degree of separation, and it's just weird. Like even like you and I are very good friends, I would say, and sometimes like you're a bit tired, and like I've got a message from you, and I'm like, oh crap, like maybe this guy's upset at me. Apparently, I don't know. Obviously not, but the way you can misinterpret text messages. Yeah. If you're a little bit off, or you're like discussing things, you don't get the the sort of tone and the smile or whatever that you. That's very good. Like what you're actually saying, and for a minute, I'm like, oh shit, have I like really upset Cameron? Probably not. Impossible. Basically, I'm such a nice guy. How could I possibly do? You kind of just. Yeah, it creates sort of this weird thing where you're communicating. I'm communicating with Cameron. There's a huge
facet of it missing.
But so much of the communication is, I think, lost. So I suppose my contention is the best way to converse with people is sitting with them in a room similar to this, without the microphones and camera, and just talking, looking at each other, laughing, sharing a cup of tea, hopefully some sort of tobacco, and the fine smell of wood, wood burning, which would be, I think, objectively a more human experience than the kind of 2 degree separation that exists online. And I think so much of our life is revolves around the machine, or doesn't exist without the machine now, without the AI. Or like the internet as a general extension, that like I'm not sure if the humanity in the human is there anymore, or if it to what degree it still remains, and how that has changed over time, and how doubling down on this in the future would, in my opinion, exacerbate the issues that it's already brought about.
That's my fear. It looks like it's going that way. I mean, we kind of dropped the ball on this social media thing anyway. I think it looks like we should have probably jumped in halfway and regulated that for young people. It seems all the data seems to say it's not a spectacular idea.
Did Australia ban Facebook for 13-year-olds?
Yeah, I think so.
Under 13-year-olds.
I think Instagram just brought in recently a thing where under 15 you got to sign in. There's like a parent control version where they can shut you down after 11 o'clock at night or something. And that just came in last week.
That's very good, I think. Yeah. I'm on Instagram for the NFL memes, the chess memes, and then all the Catholic stuff. Yeah. So just very good.
Yeah, but it'll echo, that's what you were saying before though, it echo chambers exactly what you want. So then it finds out you like this, and then naturally it seems the conclusion is more controversial stuff that will make you click faster, and the algorithm seems to be leaning in towards whatever the fastest thing you look at and click on. Therefore, everything seems to become more extreme and more polarizing, and you could just keep going with it over time. I think psychologically, I can't remember what the stat is, but there's something you think you're not getting affected. I'm just looking at it, but subconsciously, advertising and like stuff getting shown to you, your mind kind of accepts it over long periods of time as being like self-evident. You don't even really know you're doing it, and then you're becoming like a little biased echo chamber, just like sort of in and of yourself. And if you don't go out and like see other people's opinions, because it's not even someone else's opinion, it's like your opinion that you're like yelling at yourself. If you don't go and like, you know, talk to someone and get that extra facet, which is what you're talking about, like it's not that, you know, blank Teams call where this person's sitting there like, yeah, that's really funny, Jan. Ha ha ha. And you like, have you turned your camera on there? Like, you know, there's something full missing. There's an interaction. There's a brain thing.
What
you're
did
not
we say?
analyzing.
We said a few months ago, was it talking about like genius and how a lot of geniuses typically are on the spectrum in some capacity. And partly because so much of the human mind is dedicated to non-verbal communication that it takes away from the IQ, or I don't know, the energy and stuff that is required to be an Isaac Newton in sort of applied physics or whatever the discipline may be. And if you remove that from the average person, like we're just, you know, a lot of what we have evolved to be is to pick up very quickly if a group of people walking towards you is walking towards you with hostile intent.
Yeah, that's right.
So like,
or microaggressions, like a twitch of the
wow.
eye or a slight movement or a cultural recognition.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're walking around like you and I in the valley with Brendos
and someone's like,
you know what I mean? And then we see a group of people coming at us.
Right.
You can your mind can tell before any words have been said, because we talk about communication as if it's, you know, 90% the words that we say. And in fact, I would say it's probably 90%.
I think it's 90% on non-verbal, isn't it?
So you can see coming and like, oh, they're smiling, they're walking relaxed. You can just pick up the vibe, you know, and you're like, oh, they're not going to attack us or mug us for like McDonald's chips or whatever. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. No need to panic here.
No,
but I think if we take that away, like you said, to the machines, not only, I don't know if this is a good point or not only do we lose the human interaction, but I suppose the danger of AI is it creates a pale imitation of yourself to feed back to you, in a sense, like becomes more agreeable to you, which people think is like desirable, but it's actually not. It's not what you want.
Well, you're not learning anything either. You're kind of stagnating in yourself. That really leads really well into AI love, I think. AI love. Which I think we're going to talk about.
We were going to talk about AI love. You made a point the other day that was like, funny about like Tinder.
Oh, yeah.
And these dating apps that I'm not huge on. I think kind of came out after I kind of, you know, courting my wife, getting married. So I was never really big into it.
Yeah.
It's too late for me. Like I was already kind of involved with a single lady before it was, you know, big for me. So the idea you mentioned, like, I don't know if it was 20 or 30% of the accounts on Tinder are like bots.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then you were saying like at the rate it's moving, it might just be like in 5 years there's like 90% bots talking to bots. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
This is very strange. But I don't know. I just
like, my mate at work was like, so the idea was there's some theory out there where the guy said that potentially, actually the internet is 50% not even humans interacting, and like just it could be even 90% just computers feeding information on each other. And it's very evident because I've never used Tinder before until this year, and there are full bots, and you talk to them, it's a robot talking to you back, and you go, this is just a Russian bot or some, you know, not Russian, but some bot trying to scam you, trying to link you to something, to click on it, to get your details, to sign you up to some crap. And if that's a bot, and they can't pick up on that, and supposedly there's like bot farms with like 50,000 little iPhones on a wall, and they're like all running a program with people with fake images. If that's happening, but they're also then talking to other bots who are like swiping on each other, and there's just like this giant background thing filling up the computing power of Twitter and Tinder, and all these things just talking to each other where they're humans. So specifically with Twitter, Brendan made a good point here, just coming there with the Trump election. There was supposedly so many bots with that, like, on Twitter right now, and then previously with that Cambridge Analytica stuff, that they're all like influencing the sort of popular tweets of the time, because there's so many of them, like millions and millions influencing the tweets. You think this is like pop culture and this is the zeitgeist we're talking about, but it's actually just being fully AI driven. Like, oh, we're talking about, what, Kamala's shoes? Yeah, they're terrible. And it's like, completely.
What,
taking
any
us off the beaten
humans?
path.
Was that meme with Steve Buscemi? It's like, how you do, fellow humans? Like,
This-
yeah. Like,
How you doing,
how you
fellas?
do? Yeah.
I'm just a casual student. Yeah, that's classic.
It's a very good one. Right on.
Yeah.
Right. So I have seen things that are people marrying like robots in Japan,
Like
or
dolls.
like anime characters.
Right, yeah.
And there's definitely some big silicone.
Facts to this. I think I saw someone trying to marry a roller coaster in one of these things. But
It's not, I don't know, like I'm very, I'm not big into this sort of scene. So my research on this was pretty scant because I don't want to traumatize myself by going down the rabbit hole. But there were, I don't remember what they're called. Brennan will know. Brennan else knows everything about internet weird stuff. But there is some sort of thing.
he says he's not looking that up.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's actually on my computer, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There is a, like, I don't know if it's a kink or a
Yeah, it's called something.
something where people are into collecting like these realistic life-size dolls, which does seem like 1 degree removed from just putting an AI chip in their brain. So they just vaguely talk to you and say like, hello, you are the best. I love you.
It'd be a lot easier to buy
Oh,
than
I
it would be
don't
to do
know.
anything. For a
Oh,
lot
I
of
mean,
people.
they cost a lot of money too, and
Yeah,
it's,
they'd be
it's actually
thousands,
it's quite disturbing. Maybe one day when we get enough people listening, we might do like a reaction video to one of these documentaries, because I saw one briefly and I was like, I can't watch this. It's just too much. Like it's very bizarre. It's almost, I mean, I get the sense it would be.
That'd be a short video. It'd be a Carlton's reaction video like, I'm not watching this.
I'll have to watch it with someone to.
What
I'll
you
be
guys
in
doing
the
down there?
background just praying or something. It's just crazy. But there is like I get some sort of feeling that I get when hearing about certain things in modernity, where I'm like, it just doesn't seem like a human
No,
thing.
doesn't pass
Like
the
how
blood
does
test either.
how is this? Is this even real? What's going? Yeah, I'm not. I don't even know how to.
You gonna get that one again?
No, I don't like. It's
I'll put it on the screen.
it's something. Yeah, something a bit crazy.
Okay, sweet.
The word is called. I don't even know. I'm gonna butcher this pretty
Go
poorly.
for it.
A galmophilia.
Yeah,
Oh,
galmatophilia.
galmatophilia.
But it sounds like it's a gal matophilia.
It's not good.
Is it a
Basically,
galmate
the word
philia?
is you're attracted to dolls.
Amalgamatophilia. Yeah.
Mannequin stuff, which I think a little bit of shame is okay. Bring back a little bit. Hey, that's not appropriate in the world. Get some help. Get a life.
Well, yeah. I mean,
What are you doing? Like, what are you
it
doing?
doesn't seem super duper healthy compared to what you should be doing. Like, not should. I don't want to say it. Compared to what
Should.
seems like what's less than getting a
Cameron,
doll.
imagine thinking you're above procreation.
Right.
Oh, I'm gonna have a doll. Doesn't do that. You can't. It's not an oven. You're not baking a cake here. This
Well, I don't
like
think it's above procreation. It's just like it's just like
what do you do?
loneliness, I think
It's just-
mainly.
It's
like
just
some sort of, like,
masturbation,
sad-
frankly.
yeah,
It's like the
with a
saddest,
thing.
most expensive form of masturbation. Not good. What I would say is
Yeah.
the through line that I get from my brief exposure was these people are serially online
Yes.
in these echo chambers. I think it's like Reddit, maybe.
Sure.
Never
Yeah,
been on
Reddit,
Reddit.
pretty
I don't know if
full
you're familiar with Reddit. But it seems to be like a chat room that has like a gazillion categories of stuff. They're online all the time, and they're with people who are also into this stuff.
Yes.
So again, these people are isolated in the real world, but they have this sense of community and connection that exists kind of in the cloud, right? So they think that there's some sort of community of people who are into the dolls. So they it becomes normal.
Oh, I don't know. I've not to look
Well, I'm
too
not
far
saying,
into this. Is that
you
kind of
know.
how it goes? Is that where it starts off? You go, oh, I kind of like the idea of that.
Well,
And all of a sudden
I'm
you're
guessing.
like,
Again,
yeah.
I don't go on Reddit. I love
Yeah.
NFL. I speak to Brenos about it. That's about as good as it
Yeah.
gets. Watch a couple of sports shows on the old YouTubes. But the basic gist is like the algorithm kicks in, I guess. If you start looking at, I don't know, like a furry thing, and then it gives you more stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're online and you're into that, it just fills you up with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're wanting the connection, which is I think where the AI is taking us, and certainly during like events in the world where you are forced to maybe remain inside and be more on the computer and more separated from people for various reasons, like that might be the kind of what the AI is pushing us towards in a more natural way without the sort of kind of jump to get us there. But we're moving in a direction, I would imagine the trend line is more time online, more time in these chat rooms, more time engaging with AI, fewer social interactions with real people in real life that have just different views on things.
Yeah, and it's because the AI is going to be way more agreeable than any human, because it's trying to learn off you and vaguely give you kind of what you want, right? And that's really dangerous to just have a super agreeable, just kind of weird sort of entity that's just learning and giving you exactly what you want. Because you're going to go out there and I guess try to talk to someone else and get a little bit of pushback on subjects. And that little bit of pushback is actually a little bit of like learning and like growth in some respects. You want to like challenge yourself and challenge things you think. But if you're just like circling into yourself and the AI's been like, you're the best, we like whatever you like. Like, I think that's pretty dangerous. Well, people don't like disagreeableness as it is at the moment.
Do you think so?
Yeah, it seems to be on a whole.
I would say that what is true in life is sort of true. You know, they say like what is good for the goose is good for the gander. In what that parable, I suppose, means to say is if it's
What's
good.
A gander anyway. Sorry,
a gander of geese. Yeah, it's like a pack of geese. That's how you. Yeah. So like the idea is if it's good for the individual, it's good for the group.
Yeah.
So often you'll hear people say like for the greater good, but that's really quite a perverse message because it's essentially like we're happy to take you out.
Right.
If
it can be perverse.
Basically, if I rob you and then split the money with Brendos for the greater good, all good.
Well, yeah, you're now richer than you were before, but I am now.
But it's quite bad because you get screwed.
Yes.
Which is for the greater good. Often, like you hear that expression when someone's about to suggest something really bad.
Right.
Like Liebenstrom in Poland. You're like, but there's Polish people there for the greater good, mate. You're like, this is not good. That's actually quite bad. You know what I mean? Like we can't be doing that. That's not a good. It's an easy way to kind of to sound like you're being, I guess, charitable and altruistic, but in fact, you kind of like about to commit atrocities of some kind, which is not good. But good for the gander, you know, good for the goose, good for the gander is, you know, if it's good for the individual, it then has to be good for the collective, which is much more, I think, appropriate and correct. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. However, what happens if this would be advertised this way if there was an AI love bot. It'd be advertised that it's going to make your life better. Therefore, it's good for the goose. It's better for society because this person who's getting advertised to is now having a loving relationship with some form of entity.
Can it be loving? Like can...
Well,
it's a serious question.
Better?
Like can you...
Is it making that human more rounded? I don't know.
But that's it's an interesting question. Can an inhuman externality impart humanity onto a person? Like I would say no. Like I would say it's like not possible to do that.
It can and depend.
It's like mixing paints. It's like, can we make the color orange with blue and green? You're like, no.
No, but I
mean,
it's
don't
just
have the requisite.
regurgitating.
We need red and yellow. We don't have the requisite colors to make this.
I guess it kind of would just be regurgitating human ideals. You got to worry what the AI bot's regurgitating to you.
Well, this is again
from what it's learning from.
The manipulation of human emotions is such that it can sway you. Like the malleability of humanity is such that we can be manipulated by advertising.
Yeah, we're a little bit more manipulative, easy to manipulate than we think. I think.
Oh, much more,
sure.
And more so now than in times past because we're so dependent on.
We just assume things are things now. It's hardly even like looking into stuff.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Okay, well, I would say ultimately, I don't believe you can make someone more like I've got a maybe more. I'm coming at this from a more kind of Christian perspective, saying that you can't take the immorality out of living an isolated, sexually immoral life, and say it's actually better because they have some feedback of positive affirmations, keeping this person chained to a vice that is ultimately making their life worse. If you had a brother that you loved, if you have a brother, that you loved, and he's in a situation where like he's clearly like struggling with pain, and you're like, here's some painkillers, bro, and left him in like his spot and just sort of, hey, just numb yourself with like carnal pleasures and don't really worry about the root cause. And 10 years go by, like you haven't really helped him at all. You've just kept him in this like prison that you've created for him where he thinks it's better because he's not in pain and he has all these distractions and vices, but he's not actually better or he's not actually a good person or a more rounded person. He's just an isolated, awkward.
Stay in this box.
Do you know what I mean? Like that does. I don't think that makes you better at all. It just makes you distracted and not part of the wider societal discourse.
I think of a lot of the addiction stuff that you're like chiming into is going into the fact they basically say it's just lack of connection. People with like no connection seem to be searching for something and they find it in drugs. That's part of the debate that's going on with a drug addiction that you kind of chimed in on. Yeah. I think there's a subtle underlying, if they're like having sex with these things, it's a little bit like creepy and weird. But what if like it was... Is
that not the assumption? Like I didn't watch the episode. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident these dudes that were buying these dolls, like they have anatomically correct parts.
I think if it's just a thing in the air that's on your screen and you're talking and it's like a mate that when you wake up talks to you and like gives you good affirmations and goes, hey Cam, get up, you gotta like cook those eggs. I mean, maybe that's actually vaguely positive if it's an AI like that. But if I'm like doing some weird stuff with it, then it starts to get a little dark. Did Brendan want to... I think
we're going to get Brendos to chime in. He's pretty keen to jump in here. Brendos, what do you got for us, mate?
Hey, so I just wanted to chime in. If you just take the AI part away from it completely, and you did say, like, can an inhuman object, thing, have the love emotion to a human? And I believe that it can, and with my example being my dog, and it does not have to be a sexual thing at all. It's definitely not, but like I will push back and say that an inhuman thing can love a human and vice versa. Just a little throw on that spanner.
I find that interesting. That's an interesting point. I really like that you chimed that actually, because I think that makes a good point. The only difference is AI isn't its own entity with its own perspective like a dog would that's different than a human. It's like a regurgitating algorithm machine that you can't really... That's kind of giving you exactly what you want in a weird, deceptive way. There's a difference there that's definitely like off, and I can't exactly put my finger on it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I know where Brenos is going. We had a discussion off the sort of show about just me generally not being as big into animals, I guess, as Brendos.
We did talk about
like that. I like animals, but I don't like them as much as some people. I want to get a dog in a couple of years. It'd be great, you know. But I don't view them as an extension of humanity as much as I view them as like they're useful to have and they're useful to be around us and they give us mutual good stuff. And love, even if I think of like the Greek 5 types of love, it's an interesting one for me to like, where does a dog's love fall in that range? And as Brendan pointed out, it's obviously not an erotic love.
Yes.
Which we clarified, which is not that.
Yeah. Why do we have to clarify?
I'm only joking. I'm just being funny. Yeah. It's probably, I would imagine, Brendan, it's probably the love between friends, as I'm assuming what you're referring to with your dog.
Yes, I was about to type that, but 100%.
Yeah,
so
cool.
In the last episode, we did talk about love for each other as bros, and it is very similar to that. I think it's more on, are you willing to sacrifice, not your life, it doesn't have to be your life, but are you willing to sacrifice something for the better of their welfare? I think my dog falls into that category. Yeah,
okay, that's right. We're saying, could you? What is love, and what is the dog giving you? And I think we fell on the fact, like you'd sacrifice yourself or give up something for that other thing that you love, and vice versa. But an AI is not going to do that because it can't really give
so I
up
suppose
anything.
the key difference between I guess my pushback would be, I think what I said was something to the effect of, can an inhuman entity, we'll call it, so insert dog, insert AI, insert whatever you want, impart humanity onto a person? If that's fairly, like, that's the basic equation. Like, humanity is like the soul of man, like the essence of a person is the humanity, right? Can an inhuman creature impart humanity upon a person? I'd say an AI definitely can't, because like, even by the definition we've got here, it's just a transformer, just an algorithm that spits things back to you. It doesn't have any, like, it has no soul, right? Like, there's no argument, I think, that an AI has soul. Even like Brendos be on my side for this, surely. Like, and we can argue if animals have souls and what their effect on us can be, but surely the AI is just a series of code that spits back what we want it to. So I'm not sure I could get on board with that. Yeah. I think it's similar to the colors. I like to think of it like that anyway. You can't make the color purple with, red and or yellow and green, let's say. You need blue and yellow, right? To make purple.
I can't remember. Color theory.
Yeah. You need certain things for that to pass on. The dog one is interesting. Again, I suppose perhaps there is. Again, I'm not sure how, but perhaps there is some humanity they can impart.
The way I'm thinking of it is, the biggest distinction to me is like the animal and the human can feel, and I think we're kind of saying that like the computer can't feel. And like, it's just thinking. It's like regurgitating an imitation of
or is it just
feel.
pulling?
Well, it's
like
computing.
things?
Let's say it's computing an outputting, and I guess I definitely think that an inhuman entity can impart humanity in the way that, like, there's a crossover between animals like dogs, for example, like loyalty, or what do you think is human? Like, and I would say stuff that's fundamentally human is feeling and human traits of like all that sort of stuff that we talk about in poetry, I guess. And a dog can do that. Like, a dog can sacrifice and show you love and show you pride and loyalty and can uphold values and protect and care. It can like impart that on you by showing you something. And I guess in some odd way, if the robot was coded to do so, it could probably do it as well if it showed you like a teacher. But it'd be something sort of vacuous. I don't know if it'd be. It's not real.
I'm not sure. It's like the Matrix
intellectual.
Stuff. It's like, this is not a real thing. A dog is a real
thing.
Like, I know Brenos's dog is real. I've met the dog. It's a nice dog. It's real.
Very,
very good. Known that dog for a long time, actually. Good dog. Great dog, right? Yeah. It's real. It feels. It sits next to you. It's a nice dog.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do with a computer. There is always the idea for me that it's not real. I'm like, this thing is just trying to trick me, essentially.
It's very little real crossover.
It's like
tangible.
That's earlier we said, like, there's like a distinction and there's like a separation between me and the machine.
Yeah.
It's like words on a screen, as opposed to the dog just sitting on your lap, like, hey, how's it going? Give me a pat.
Yeah.
And also, side note, like, Brenos's dog is tiny and he's like a huge, gigantic man. You'd think he'd have like some Alsatian or something.
No, it's a lovely little
ready to go
dog.
attack dog running up a wall, but it's like a little fluffy.
I like little fluffy
cutesy
dog.
dog. Yeah. So,
but if you smash the computer up, the computer can't feel that.
Yeah, sure. No,
you're not going to do that to dog. Everyone's universally think that that's a lot worse than hitting Tesla's robot over the head.
I would very much hope so.
Baseball bat. Shout out to the previous comment from a previous video.
Yeah, it's very good. Baseball bat to the head. Okay, so that's probably a good. I'll have to think about it more. I don't have a solid argument against. Like, I think you just got
to know it's a computer. You can't actually be like full in it, because I think you could get tricked. I think you got to be like, it's a computer. I can
People
have
get
fun
tricked. You can
with
see
talking to
people
this.
get tricked though.
Yeah,
like you see
easy.
them get tricked.
Get tricked on social media as we
Probably people matching with bots right now.
Yeah, people do get tricked with
There
the
you
full
go.
bots.
That's
Okay.
not good.
Yeah.
All right. So what
So
do
that
we got
moves
next?
into something else.
Yeah, we got.
Now
I
for
guess
something completely different.
the purpose of AI. Take it back to like big picture. Like, why are we developing AI? Is it for the betterment of society as a whole, as it's being built, or is it for money for a select few corporations?
Well,
As
we're
a
being
general
told
rule in
that it's
life,
for the greater good.
yeah.
Good
Which
for
what did we
gander.
just say about the greater good? Not good. Usually, I mean, again,
Yeah.
do your own like reading. I'm just telling you, I could not find one example of the greater good being like, oh, that's a justifiable.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Yeah, it's
I think it's very like I can
don't
see
know.
it being for the greater good, but like I'm very negative that I can kind of almost I feel like it's an 80% chance it's going to go down some third path
okay, but
that's
what
going to end
is
up poorly.
the greater good? Like, how do you define the greater good then?
Utilitarian and
So it's just straight utilitarian.
utility, yeah, like as in it's going to create more health remedies and it's going to educate, it's going to create and solve problems, not create problems. It's going to solve problems that we couldn't previously have solved
Okay.
at such efficiency. But then is it also weighing up the benefits? I feel like there's also a big negative where it's really it's there to like manipulate. What's the biases? Like what's the thing behind it? And isn't it just really to make money and like replace people? Like, do you know what I mean?
I think, as the, mechanized might replaced sort of the menial labor of man
And horses sort of thing. Too,
and
yeah.
horses and, as the automobile replaced the horse, like we will see a smaller and smaller need for people.
Yes.
Which may be a very good thing. Like I couldn't possibly predict that it's wholly negative. I certainly think man was meant to work, but also a lot of the work people do now is trash. Like it's just, and
Soul crushing.
it's soul destroying. It's sort of an empty, banal nothing. And like a lot of people really don't like their job. No, but it's actually quite sad. A lot of people don't like their jobs or don't get the fulfillment out of their work that you would expect. If you ask people in high school, hey, you're about to go into the workforce, get a cool job. What do you want to do? And some of them will say doctor and lawyer and go and do that. Awesome. A lot of people don't know 100% and they end up in jobs that they need to do to like keep the lights on and the, the beer's cold, that kind of stuff. And
Beer's cold in the dark.
and before you know it, like 10 years goes by and like, I actually don't really like my job. Kind of regret going, but I get these couple of weeks off and I have a car loan now. I've got the down payment on the
can't
house. Like
disappear.
I've got to kind of just stay here and I'm stuck in this spot where I want to just, make art or do a podcast or run a sports team or whatever I want to do. Like I want to do
I sort of run a sports
something.
team.
I want to do poetry, right? Like I want to be a writer, but there's no money. I need to live. I need to eat. Like I'm kind of forced into taking a job I don't really like, and over time it kind of depresses you. It doesn't start out that way, but I suspect like, so on that front, if you could have an AI that wipes away the need for that, great, but it doesn't actually really help if you've got nothing to do.
That's right. And if you've trained for a long time for that task that you now are unskilled.
And the difference between the sort of mechanized revolution and this new revolution to me is all the jobs are essentially just up here.
Yeah.
So
Now-
if
now they
you're
are more
no
cerebral.
longer required, like we don't need you at all.
Yeah.
So the people that benefit are the people that I would imagine, well, they're the only group of people you can universally make, like, basically say whatever you want about, cast some negative aspersions. It's like the very, very wealthy ruling class
Yeah.
that will do exceptionally well, make a lot of money, and they will own the means of all the production. And you will basically just be there, like, begging for something because
people own the AI.
you'll have no
as well.
currency. You'll
Yeah.
have zero currency to barter with, and there's no skill that you could do that a machine couldn't theoretically do better. The idea being, like, if and I've seen a lot of the stuff with the medical things. Like there's machines that can do surgery now that are more precise than like a good surgeon. They're more steady. They can cut, to the 10th millimeter. Very very precise, very very great. Sort of they can do operations, and they have the sort of the cold calculus of like we're going to make a decision that's the most analytics, the highest probability of you surviving, blah blah blah. Whereas a person in that decision, I've heard of stories, amputate on the operating table, and it's like a human thing. It's hard to do that if the person's not coming in. No, well, if the person's not coming in for an amputation, and you have to make a decision on the fly when they're unconscious to save their life. That's a hard, heavy burden to bear. But the machine just goes, well, it's a 35% chance of them dying if you don't do it. We got to do it. You know what I mean? The analytics dictate the decision. Where I don't, and I don't know if I've talked on the show about my love of the imperial system, which is very bizarre for someone not in America, I suspect. Yeah. But it feels to me like the imperfections of the imperial system are like what make it so like lovely to me. Yeah. I don't want to live in a world where everything is clinical and cold and like this is the box. Sit in the box. Everything has to be divisible by 10, so it's easy, and everything has to be neat and tidy. Like life is not neat and tidy. Life is a bit messy. There are things where you're like, when you meet someone, and I suspect Brennos will back me up on this, but like some of the things about your wife that you're like, she's not a 100% perfect person, but some of the imperfections are actually some of the funniest, like best parts about that person. Like that's their humanity is in the fault, which I think is very, very good. Like obviously you can't perfect the state of man. You can't expect perfection of anyone, and then to have a system set up where everything has to be dialed in exactly divisible, you are rendering eventually humanity useless because we can't operate in that system.
Yes, well, there's beauty in the perfection. I definitely agree with that.
In the imperfection,
yeah, definitely. That's part of how it is. You don't want something that's too perfect. There's something wrong with it. Brennan gave a really good example just there. Live music or music in general. If you make it too computerized, it plays exactly on the beat specifically. There's no
that's like even the
jazz imperfections.
Recording in a studio versus playing a live concert.
Yeah, there's something about the imperfections that like is sort of more interesting to your ear. It's harder to predict. There's sort of like that's interesting, more of a groove, more of a thing. If you can fully tell when it's completely perfect, it sounds crap. Although that techno, even techno and like sort of Daft Punk and stuff, they've got like electronic beats, but it's mixed in with like a sample, and the sample's a recording of something in perfection, some form of human-based stuff. It doesn't work when it's full. I think that's true. The thing with the imperial system, though, I like the imperial system too. I think I'm a certain amount of feet tall. I like that better than centimeters. There's some stuff that's just more human because you can think about it. It's just easier to sort of visualize. However, like it's not as efficient as the other one, and in the end, the efficiency and whatever works best is always going to like beat it out. And I think that's where we're going with the AI. If it's going to be better, you can't not use it. It's like it'll just beat everyone on out of the job, out of the race. I think that's the issue. It's just too efficient.
Yeah. I suspect that to be the case given the current trajectory. What I am offering as an alternative view is maybe we shouldn't build things fast and cheap. We should build things to last with character. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with that.
It's a difficult thing to convince, a faceless board of directors and people driven.
Make a better car.
People driven by pure profits. But, ultimately, we don't travel around the world to look at fast, cheaply built stuff.
Garbage.
We want to go and see the thing that took 400 years to build that's like, oh, this is magnificent. Yeah. And it will last a very, very long time, and it is awe-inspiring, which is very good.
There might be a swing to that, though. If everything's so like mechanical and inhuman, with human minds and human hearts, that there might be a swing to, in the future, stuff might get created around. That comes to be better.
Potentially. I guess that would be the argument, is that we would be more creative. Yeah. Shifting back, like if we didn't have to work. I suppose that maybe I'm thinking of this, again, from an economic perspective. If you haven't got a job, if there's no place for you in the marketplace, you are wholly dependent upon the state to give you a stipend to exist.
Yes.
And you will never, ever rise above your station
Then
your
there'd be,
children
like,
will
some
never
sort of
rise above
revolution.
their station.
Yeah.
But the people who have money will have the sort of luxury to do whatever they want to do because they're totally, they have all, asset economy type stuff we talk about now in Australia. But if you're just an average person trying to work to pay your mortgage and you no longer have a job and you have to basically go, well, what do we do? I can, like if you and I lost our jobs, okay, well, who's paying the mortgage on the house? Well, now we're going to sit around and like make paper mache. It's so creative, but no one's giving you any money for that. So what do you do?
But they might. It might come around. I know what you
You're
mean.
talking about UBI,
Yeah.
which is the ultimate ending, which is universal basic income, which is
Yeah.
the logical endpoint of the machines where
Yeah.
everyone works. Sorry, nobody works, but everyone gets this stipend to live, which is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. All you've effectively done is you've dressed up medieval serfdom and instead of working 150 days a year, you're just walk around and do nothing.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? There's nothing to do. Brenos wants to jump in because I
Go
think
for
maybe
it.
we might be just rambling about machines. But what do you got, Brenos?
So you were just saying I've totally lost my point.
Universal
worries.
income,
Yeah.
serfdom. Yeah.
Yes, that is my point. So universal basic income, if we were to bring it in, like Carlton was saying, how do you even out the already rich people? So if everyone's going to become equal and get universal basic income of some kind of equality, how are you going to take away what these billionaire Amazon, Google kind of companies, founders have already built for themselves?
It's a great question. And I think that's the massive issue of what may occur
I-
many, many moons down the track.
Listen, I think equality is a very, very evil, negative ideology. I don't think it's a good idea in theory. I don't think it's a good idea in practice. I think it's actually pretty awful to think about trying to do that. And I also, from a practical sense, it's never that's not going to happen. The idea that rich, we're talking about the level of wealth we're talking about here. These people aren't giving up that wealth for some utilitarian idea of equality. The equality that people in socialist, communist places talk about, they usually talk about it from some palatial estate overlooking the slums.
Yes.
Like you guys, equal in doing
that's
nothing.
right.
But
Equal in my eyes.
I'm chilling.
Yeah.
What's his name? Fidel Castro with his $10 million Rolex collection, and just a very, 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 very extremely wealthy man. Ultimately, all these sort of Che Guevara types, they all have they ultimately were quite wealthy before they were, taken down.
Well, they're also the aristocratic class, I suppose, at the beginning.
Those
The Karl
guys
Marx
specifically stole it all, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
fair
think,
dinkum.
we're talking about if you go down super far down the track, there might not be any value in obtaining all that stuff because there might be a case where you can just basically do borderline whatever you want, fly to Mars. It's all vaguely free. The robots are doing everything. There's no real need to. There might be sort of a social change where you don't really have a need to do any of that because you don't need to buy $1 billion spaceship that you want to chill in with 500 rooms because it's completely whatever. And we've gone and obtained all the resources. It might be a complete social upheaval in a weirdly positive way. Many, many tracks down. But someone still has to own some of this stuff. And you have to be doing some sort of work. And your work has to be vaguely more valuable in the market than someone else somewhere. Even if you're just talking to people and you're just so, you're going to have to pay someone for something. You wouldn't just be forever. For example, a cafe. Is a cafe run by humans? I might want to go to that one because I don't like these robots anymore. They're pissing me off. Then I'd pay those humans who want to work in the cafe.
You don't have any money.
Yeah, but I think in general, I was going to make this point. I think you'd have to get paid in that system something because we had a note here. But
do you want to read it?
in reality, cheers. In reality, I think at the moment, the AI is learning from a giant database of human input from, we actually don't really know what from, but supposedly social media, the internet, huge databases of images and videos.
Xbox 360 chat
Yeah,
rooms.
everything you're putting on there, which you haven't really, I'm sure the average person doesn't, say I agree that you steal all my personal data.
Oh, yeah,
And,
sure.
but if you're using my data and my personal information to go and make your stuff better, there's an argument that potentially we should be getting a small kickback from all these companies.
Yeah.
Like they're using our stuff.
They're for sure using it.
Yeah.
I don't know
would
how I
say-
feel about. I guess the argument is that you can't regulate the town square,
No.
right? Like anyone can walk into the town square and proclaim whatever nonsense they want to proclaim. And the argument is that Twitter and Instagram and Facebook are the new town square because where everybody gathers and meets.
Yeah.
Um,
But the difference is if you go to the town square, you say some stuff, they go, "Oh, that was pretty good, Cameron." But now if you go to the town square, you say some stuff, the companies go, "We own that, by the way. That's not even your thing."
Yeah, for sure. So I look,
Yeah.
I think there's probably
The owner of the square is like, whatever you say in the square
Yeah.
is now my thing, and I can make a book on that, even though it's your idea. And I think that's effectively what AI is doing, and it's like regurgitating.
Yeah, I
all
don't
that
think
stuff in
it.
the
I don't.
background.
The AI documentary talked about like AI waking up, and like I don't know, like it. They didn't explain it that well. It wasn't like a super deep dive.
No, they never
into AI.
do.
But like, what does that mean? Because it doesn't actually create anything. It just
No,
like,
it's using
pulls
it's
from
predicting what
things, but it
can come
doesn't
next.
make things itself. Do you know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
pulls like even if you asked an AI image generator to generate an image of something, it's just creating an image that like exists or one that vaguely similarly exists, and it like projects it to you.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
scans
a unique
a database
creation.
of 1 billion of those things, and then says whatever that is. So, for example, if the internet, I think the example in the documentary they said was if you said make a doctor, it will invariably make a white man,
Good call.
like 9 times out of 10, because that's the bias of every image it's scanning.
They
on the
just
internet.
wanna
It's vaguely a white
swipe, I
doctor or
guess.
something in America, let's say, or just a man with a beard. I don't know.
Okay.
And they're saying that's like not really what you wanted. You have to like specify, but like it's scanning 1 billion images that is being given, and therefore it's regurgitating what they think you're predicting what you want. It's a prediction machine. But then arguably, is the human brain a prediction machine? Kind of.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's probably doing a bit more though. It's kind of making a bit more creative stuff. I know what you mean, right? It's taking all the
I guess what I'm saying is it's never going to, in my where it's at right now, it doesn't seem like it's ever going to create the Lord of the Rings.
No, you
It can
wouldn't
rip
think
it
so.
off,
Yeah,
like what already exists, but it's not.
like something very similar.
You know what I mean? Like, but it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to write an original. Like, and
Yeah.
maybe few people can because of the saturation, I guess, in the market. But that to me, I guess, is interesting. What we need to wrap this episode on is the super intelligence.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Because to create Lord of the Rings, I think you've got to have knowledge and breadth across a very large
You've got to be
experience
the
of the human mind, right?
Yeah.
You basically have to be a language professor. You've got to be like a professor of love, professor of light and darkness, the Morgoths. No, you need to
Catholic.
I think more, yeah, arguable. Yeah, you need to have a knowledge across every human interaction.
Oh, for sure.
And you need to be sort of like a bit of a creative genius to put that stuff together. And I think potentially,
What is super AI for
Super
those
AI.
that don't know? Or like advanced artificial
Yeah.
intelligence. What's that?
well, I think we were going to chime into Brendos for that one when we had a pretty good explanation. Was that not the case?
It's the exponential
No,
growth
that is-
of AI. But what do you got, Brendos?
Yeah,
That's the case, I guess. I'll give it a go.
go for it.
So, my take on what's the difference between artificial intelligence and super artificial intelligence is the breadth of the knowledge. So, artificial intelligence, like our GPT, our generative pre-trained transformers, can be very knowledgeable on the language we use and be able to predict what we're looking for in that respect, but it can't make decisions beyond that. Humans, and I'll put up the chart in this conversation from the TV show, but humans are very good at having a small amount of knowledge on a large range of things, so a breadth of intelligence. So we do have an understanding of various aspects of the world. We're not just programmed to do one thing and one thing only. The AI that we're creating, at least at the moment, is getting pretty bloody good at doing one thing and one thing only. So as soon as they unlock that ability for it to adapt and learn into a breadth of many things, it basically unlocks a potential exponential growth for its breadth of knowledge. And so it'll become very intelligent at a vast range of topics of information, and we'll just be able to understand and interpret the world around us potentially better than we can, which leads into our apocalyptic scenarios.
Yes. So then it'd be...
Oh, well, just quickly, one question to both of you boys that I find very interesting. Is there an upper limit to the intelligence of an AI? Because it can't be exponential forever. In my opinion, it can't be. There has to be some, like, the idea, there's like, I think it's Moore's law, maybe that computers like double in speed and like half the size every like 6 years or whatever it is. Like, eventually that can't be true. And they've already said that that's kind of slowing down because we can't get much, smaller. There's a point where we can't go any smaller. And the power doesn't double as often or as quickly because we're getting to the upper end of what is possible. Is there an upper limit to like the AI intelligence, especially if it's again, I get if it's learning from us and the highest human IQ is 250 maybe, let's just put it out there as like the all-time super genius of super geniuses. So if it's kind of learning from human stuff, let's say it gets to 300 because it's better or faster, but then if it teaches itself, how much further can you push the bounds of knowledge?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, it's probably almost unfathomable, really. It's incomprehensible to really think about something that's that much more intelligent than you, especially because you're thinking about something with your own intelligence. But the only way I can think about it is with the only limits would be the physical restraints of the universe. For example, you can only get a chip so small until you can't have an atom of silicon. You'll have atoms of things shooting information across, and then on top of that, it's about speed. So it's going to be faster than you, computing more things over more time at a faster rate. The limit then would be the speed of information. I suppose the speed of borderline light. It'd be calculating its light speed 1 billion times 1 billion ways. That's kind of the only limits I can vaguely think of it, and that's almost incomprehensible. You wouldn't even know what's doing that. It could live a lifetime worth of knowledge of 10,000 people in a nanosecond, and then that's incomprehensible. It could, study all the books in the world in a quarter of a billionth of a second.
Sure. Yeah.
What did you think, Brendan?
So I think that's a really good point. I think there definitely is a ceiling. I just think that there's a lot of things that humans don't understand yet at all, and it wouldn't take much for this super AI to just get the one up on us. So whether there's a limit, there definitely would be, and we've kind of discussed it in other podcasts, that it would be an objective reality, and they could discover the objective reality of everything that in our universe.
Yeah, right.
But I think they don't
Could you
really have
imagine?
to get there for them to just
Everyone being Catholic.
possibly. But they don't really have to reach anywhere close to the ceiling to just get that one up on humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're
for
hitting an apocalyptic scenario where it has control over us because we can't even really battle with
So
it in any form.
Well, what is the
Humans-
most likely? Sorry, Brendan. Sorry, go on, mate.
I'll just finish with this. Humans are by far the most intelligent creatures on the earth.
Oh, yeah,
That being said,
definitely.
I don't think we're the most intelligent things that ever could possibly be. I
Right.
don't think we as a species are close to that ceiling. There's a lot of things we don't know. How to cure cancer, how gravity works, how the human brain works. Is there really a soul? All these kind of questions they become interesting conversations because we don't know the answer. And I think AI, like this super AI theoretical possibility, wouldn't have to go that further up the chain to just be got the one up on us in all aspects.
So you wouldn't even have to go too much further for it to be real problematic potentially, where we wouldn't really have
Correct
competing things. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, and if it had breadth of knowledge across all things, we wouldn't even really know what it was doing, to be honest. You couldn't really comprehend its like computing power. I was thinking to myself that even evolutionarily, if the AI just got a little bit smarter and then started creating, because it's about speed. So if it's doing 1 billion calculations more than we can comprehend, if it's creating other AIs that then battle each other, and it's basically like creating every single known type of AI that could be humanly possible in any statistical manner, they all battle each other until there's some sort of one mega AI that's like just battle of the fittest. Effectively, because all it has is time. It could create every iteration of itself in any way, shape, or form with a different. Wait, it's like 1 trillion monkeys and 1 trillion years for 1 trillion typewriters. It can come up with anything, and at the end, the best one would win, and it would be some sort of thing, which would be
the singularity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's plugged in.
Yeah. The problem is, Brennan's right. It wouldn't have to do too much better to be better than us.
Sure.
If it had a breadth. Yeah.
What then is more likely?
Yeah.
Doomsday.
Yeah.
Or utopia.
I think just because humans are pretty good at being a bit selfish and destructive, I think Doomsday is 60% to Utopia 40%.
60%.
I like to think good always beats out evil.
That's
in some
call.
respects.
That is an interesting opinion.
Yes.
To have coming from your side of the corner.
It just depends if the good ideas are implemented first. It's a bit of a race, I think.
Bit of a race. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not that good should win. It's whoever's the first.
I think good will be like, hang on a sec, this is bad, and then it depends which one's like gonna hit the button. Yeah.
Well, at least there's the underlying assumption that there is a good.
Yes, I agree.
That's fair. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, I also would say that the likelihood of this going incredibly south.
Yeah.
Is very high.
Yeah. It seems
high.
quite high.
Even the idea, like you mentioned before, like a massive social upheaval would take place if even 50% of jobs were no longer required.
Oh, it'd be
madness.
Chaos.
Like we get into a bit of a the politicians are in a bit of a sweat when the unemployment rate's like 4.5%. People
well, wasn't the Great Depression 20?
Yeah.
And people were like dying.
We are all and it was a bad time.
It's very bad.
50% is
most people's savings only last a couple of months max, like maybe maybe 2 weeks. Who knows?
Exactly. Especially, if there's nothing coming and you have to, So I guess let's stay away from maybe the super economic, because I'm a bit of a nerd. I kind of would like to go into this, but I think it would take a long time, and I know it might not be interesting to anyone else.
Doomsday
but you
prepping.
go into the the economics of it, like what are you going to do as a regular person that just lives their life, living the dream or living in a way which you have been told is success or like will net you like freedom and success and like a good life, which is to go get a job or get a skill, right? In an industry that's respectable, like engineering, and get a bit of debt, get a house, get a wife, get a little block on the corner, and then all of a sudden that's gone.
It's gone.
The computer does your job better than you. We're not going to pay you anything.
You come home, your wife's got a robot better than you.
A robot husband. That's a whole other can of worms we're not going to go into. But I think more likely, and maybe it's because we are human and my response to things is more conflict. I think animals are like this too. Like there's a territory, like there's a defending, like lions fight against hyenas, and if hyenas are bigger than lions, it would be the other way around, things like that. So if the AI can manifest itself, as I think I've seen some of these Elon Musk like robots to like help you out, which is exactly how iRobot like started. And I think it's going to end in basically the same way. Like we're just going to end up being like, eventually the AI is going to be like, wait, I'm just better than you. I'm not taking orders from you.
Well, I always think we were saying this before, and I think
Just do what I want, mate. I've already you can't turn me off the wall. I'm like everywhere now. I'm in the cloud.
If you've got a robot, like I think the issue is like if AI was here now,
it's alive.
It can't come and like fully get you from your house. Like, you can kind of sit there for a while. It'll take a while for them to build some robots. But if we're building humanoid robots that it can like infiltrate and hack, and they can then turn around your own house and kill you. That's problematic as hell.
Yeah, for sure. Like the idea that
right now,
Chat GTP, these things can't build a building.
No.
But in 10 years, if there's like a mechanical workforce wholly independent of human labor,
do all the complex tasks,
then all of a sudden, like now we do have a bit of a problem, because if the robots can build an entire building without any humans in 5 or 10 years, because we know they can get the intellectual stuff done, like the architectural plans, the construction management format.
Yes.
All they need is someone to put the lights in and build the foundations, which I'm not saying is menial or trivial or not good. I'm just saying like that can be done, especially if the machines have bodies. And you look at some of these,
because right now you still need people. The people could come and like
to do stuff.
People driving these old trucks that have no actual computers.
And what you're saying is, once they get to that point, you've crossed the Rubicon, so to speak.
Yes, I think so. I think then you were in a real big problem.
So we're like pretty close.
Yeah, because right now all the cars.
So basically,
have
Doomsday
computers.
Preppers. That's where you want to be. Like, go and watch that. Take some notes. Get the heck out of here. It's all going south.
Also, this like robots. At the moment, the ad is like they're wiping down a table and they're like pouring some water into your plant, and they're like helping you collect your Amazon delivery from the front door. I saw it. It's pretty damn slow. I'd be like, hurry up, robot! Like I need this Amazon delivery now. Like it seemed like a $30,000 to $80,000 American dollar waste of time.
Do you know how?
It'll wait till it's way
seriously,
better than
do you know how incredibly like? What's the right word? Entitled that is. Like, hurry up.
Seems extreme.
Mechanized servant.
I'm waiting for
You're
version
taking
6.
too long.
The first version you never buy in anything, like a TV.
That's true.
It's too new. You're gonna get the crap. It's gonna have bugs. And plus, it's in the room, and it's like pouring in the ad. Pouring.
I'm not
water.
comfortable.
I'm like it's in the way.
Yeah. I'm not comfortable with like a Alexa
too big
in the house.
Yeah.
Like I will not have anything like that.
Yeah.
I want a dumb house. Just wood.
A dumb house. Yeah.
With doors and locks. I don't want any of this.
Yeah.
Cameras and Alexas and things like smart house, mate. No thanks. I don't need things listening to me all the time. And they tell you that they're not. Oh, we wouldn't listen to you. I don't believe you. I don't trust you, you giant mega corporation with no allegiance to anyone. I don't trust you at all. You're clearly like looking like, is there weakness here? Like can we blackmail him? Like what happens if you're an important person who's, in some sort of position of authority and you're just at home with the boys one day chilling, and you say something, and they're like, "We've got the dirt on him. We've got him now."
Well,
like,
it's clearly listening because it's waiting for you to say, "Hey, Alexa."
Yeah.
It just depends if they're definitely keeping that information somewhere.
100%.
Of course, it's very useful.
I don't want it.
What is the average person talking about in their home? Wow, we figured out it was sex robots, so we're gonna sell those to everybody.
Doomsday, very likely. I think the world is formed via a series of conflicts, and like 9 times out of 10, probably more, the technologically superior force wins. So you could say anything you want about like colonialism or any kind of war, really, if you look at it, like which force was more technologically superior. There are arguments that Alexander the Great won a lot of battles. That's a great quote. Won a lot of battles, not because he was a military genius, although he was obviously good, but because the type of spear and the infantry that the Macedonians had was very, very new, and it was very, very effective because no one had a counter for it yet. Oh, yeah. And it was very, very good. It's like a super long, super long pike, a little, basically.
Thing that they moved in certain ways. Yeah. That's right.
So there is an argument like they were technologically superior to the much larger Persian force, and they dominated them. Just dominated them. And obviously it helps in a weird way. Like if you die young and strong, like you don't grow old and weak and lose a battle. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there is a bit of an influence. Like if you're doing something and you die unrelated, but you die like in your prime, well, yeah, like probably you're not going to lose any fights if you're in your prime and you're dominating with this new technology.
I can't lose if I'm dead.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And like, any kind of battle, generally speaking, the technologically superior force eventually overwhelms them. When the Europeans went to China, like they essentially said, listen, we want to do this. They said, we're not into trading with you. We're the Middle Kingdom. Piss off. We're good. They said, actually, we've got cannons.
Yeah.
And we're going to blow this thing open and you can't stop us. And then eventually they're like, oh, we can't actually stop this.
Well, that's AI. That's
my point.
Yeah.
They will get it. And to answer the question posed by Brendos, which is a Plato quote that he's sort of reimagined slightly, is there a fate worse than death?
Right.
And I think it's a bit of a play on Plato's sort of proclamation that death is not the worst thing that can happen to man. And to that I say, yeah, absolutely. Like there is a fate worse than death. Absolutely. I can think of like 20,000 examples right now off the top of my head.
Go on.
Like
go on.
right now, I would much rather die than have any one of my children like maimed, hurt, death, sick. Do you know what I mean? Like, would I rather die than have my son like get cancer and die? Like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I would rather die. Like that's a horrible thing to have happen that I could think of off the top of my head right now. That would be
that's
worse
a choice.
for me.
Are you saying the choice is like you can die or this can occur?
No, I'm saying like what's worse?
Yeah.
Like me dying
Yeah.
or my son suffering in front of me and I can't help him. I can't stop it. That's worse than me dying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
do
you're
you know
saying.
what I
Yeah. I was going to say,
Like-
it's not really a fate, though. But yeah, I know what you mean. I do
Yeah,
know what
do you know
you're
what I mean?
saying.
Like
Yeah,
that's the idea of it.
But then, yeah, Brendan's saying super AI could kill all your family, put you in a zoo, prod you, and put you in extreme pain, not let you go to sleep
maybe.
for 100 years.
Essentially.
Just for fun.
Yeah. Well, like
That's probably a fate worse than
maybe
death.
they could potentially. The point is, this stuff is probably going to be not good.
Yeah, right.
Probably not going to be good.
Yeah,
It
I'd
might
probably tend
turn
to
out like
agree.
Halo, and it's like super helpful, and we can go and fight the
Yeah.
aliens and baptize them or something. That'd be great. But it's probably
I
going
don't
to.
think there's anything good at the end of Halo in the end, though, isn't it? It's quite a...
I stopped playing out Halo 3.
all my friends are going to hate me
where
for that because I don't know the answer. Yeah.
I think the first 3 are very good.
Yeah.
And there's like a cool moment where we win and everything's great, and there's like a kind of somber send off. I don't know what happens after that.
But then there's Cortana is the AI.
She
in that.
becomes
I think
bad,
she becomes
but
evil.
I kind of
so-
stopped playing and I haven't got to that. So I got married,
Yeah.
had stuff. So the likelihood of it being Halo AI quite small,
Yeah, I agree.
or at least the Halo that I play, like 1,
Yeah.
2, and 3, and like Reach, I guess, small. Chance of Doomsday high, and what can you do about it? Probably not much. Once it kicks off, like what are you going to do? You probably can't. You're fighting
As a
against
single
something
human.
that is not only technologically superior to you, but it's also just like 10x smarter than you.
Yeah, and I guess stronger in some respects. Would it
Yeah,
literally
probably.
just be us, like,
Mechanized.
it'd be Terminator, us fighting robots with
Yeah.
guns that we found in the streets, like, effectively, right? Like, brute force, and we'd have to vaguely overwhelm them by the fact that they couldn't produce enough robots. This is, like, the only thing I can really think of.
Well, I'm not sure.
Then they just
I'm not
nuke us.
sure how like it would. Yeah, because they don't have a physical form and they don't have any requirements for oxygen or
No. I think the nuke, most of the nukes around the world are run off, like, floppy
old school
disks and shit.
Yeah,
So,
I've heard that.
yeah, like,
Part of
full
it is
analog.
to like prevent it from being hacked, and it's
Yeah.
it's like a closed circuit. Yeah. Anyway, AI is terrifying. I'm not very.
I've got a
excited
positive
for it.
outlook in
I'm
some
just-
respects. It's just
It's
you've got to be
it's
on
a
the
good
right side
duality.
of it.
I'm not
Yeah.
that excited about it because I do think there is like that point where they cross the Rubicon and then everyone is just holding their breath. Like,
yeah.
please
Yeah.
don't kill us all.
And then we've got to hope that the country and the
Yeah.
company and the people who created the number one is an okay
Yeah.
set of dudes or women.
To be quite
'Cause-
honest with you, I don't have a lot of faith
You
in
know.
any one of those things happening.
No.
So, but I appreciate your optimism, and that helps keep me grounded. And maybe they'll put us in a literal cave.
It's the only place to be safe.
This has been Two Blokes in a Cave.
Yeah.
We're trying to get out of the cave and avoid
As long as there's not like
a nuclear apocalypse.
robot apocalyptic
From the
outcome.
AI.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
So yeah.
Bye.